Fantastic. So thank you so much for joining. Thanks, everyone. Very happy that you have made the time to join us. Happy to be here to explore this beautiful, beautiful world, intriguing world of revenue without limits and how Agentforce Revenue Management is shaping the operations, well, essentially making our life better, financially speaking as well. So, like I said, thank you so much for joining us. And I've started the poll to keep things interactive. If you like, you can. Yes. Oh, I can see some answers already. And people are excited about AI and Agentforce. So we need to be talking about AI and Agentforce, right? Great, great. So without further ado, what we're going to be doing today. So we'll do a quick round of introductions. We will be talking about the business goal behind the platform, behind the CPQ, ARM, Agentforce Revenue Management. I have a feeling that sometimes maybe RCA or RevCloud will, slither in, which is perfectly okay. And then Sergey is going to be sharing the case studies and how those goals behind the platforms were made real. I would say that the crisp version is going to be about 25-30 minutes. Then we'll have Q&A, but we decided to keep it short, not to overwhelm you with all the details. So we'll give you the most important part, but then we can be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to use Q&A, ask us questions. We'll be sharing the recording. So yeah, we are more than happy to answer all of your questions. Right, so we have covered the agenda. We're going to do a quick round of introductions. I'll start, if you don't mind. My name is Anna. I'm with ideaHelix. I lead business development in Europe, and I've been with ideaHelix for a bit less than a year. David, would you like to take over?
Happy to. Good to meet everyone virtually. David Beebe. I lead our head of revenue solutions and our product management org, and I've been at Salesforce. This coming January will be 10 years, so I'll be in the COA club here at Salesforce for anyone that may be familiar with that. And my main focus in my role is I actually sit in the chief customer office. So my main focus is to work with customers across the entire Revenue Cloud portfolio, whether that be Revenue Cloud Advanced and Billing, whether that be CPQ and billing, or whether that's even some of our industry clouds like comms and media. Wherever quoting, wherever ordering, wherever invoicing is happening on the Salesforce platform, that's where I like to be. In the place with our customers, with our partners, amazing partners like ideaHelix, with our ISV partners. There's just an incredibly thriving ecosystem. And so my job is to build relationships and take what we're building and what we are seeing being delivered in the field and bring those together for our distribution teams to make sure ultimately that our customers are successful, that they are growing, and that they are continuing to gain real value from their Salesforce investment. So excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. Speaking of success, we all want customers to be success. And who is better to join us than Sergey, our VP of Customer Success? Sergey.
Yeah, thank you. That was a very, very good introduction. I don't know what to say now. So I've been with ideaHelix for a few months, but I've been in the industry for 25 years now. It's scary to say numbers like that, but that's kind of experience we can bring to our customers.
Absolutely. So it looks like, we couldn't be in better hands together, right? So I also think that, the name Salesforce doesn't really need any introduction. So anyone and everyone knows Salesforce. However, ideaHelix might be very well known in some parts, but not as widely as Salesforce. So I thought I would take a moment to say a few words about us as an organization, and then we will move on and we will talk about the landscape of CPQ or ARM and our case studies. So Meredith Schmidt, so GM of Revenue Cloud, she described that as a trusted Revenue Cloud partner, combining automation tools, proven expertise, and a deep understanding of the platform to deliver faster and smart implementations. And just like Sergey was saying, what else is there to add? It's very succinct and it comprises pretty much everything of what we are and who we are, because we really work very closely with Salesforce product team. And we were one of the few partners that built AI-enabled purpose tools. So our tools, they help companies, customers transition from CPQ to ARM. And I will use the word, no, I'm not going to use the word effortlessly and seamlessly because it's never as easy as it seems, but we do try to make the transitioning as painless as possible. And essentially that's what we do. Our team is spread across the globe, AMER, EMEA, LATAM, APAC. So we have this global delivery 24/7 model. And what I also like to mention is that we have a 100% delivery track record. So we have never failed a customer. I'm not saying that it's always easy, but that's what we do. We are a trusted partner. Right. On that note, David, I would like to give it over to you.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, let me share my screen here. You are right about that. It is rarely easy, but we like to think it's worth it. So hopefully, can you confirm that my screen is coming through? No problem. Yeah, looks like it. Awesome, awesome. So let's we'll dive into a couple of things here. And as to finish my introduction, one piece I forgot, I am based in South Carolina on the East Coast of the United States. I do get to travel quite a bit, probably more than my wife would like from time to time. But whether it's meeting customers in New York, Paris, we've got World Tour London coming up soon, Zurich, Boston, all events. And we're at a whole bunch of world tours throughout Europe, throughout the US. So love the opportunity to get to meet customers in person where they are, whether it's at their office, whether it's one of our towers, whether it's world tour setting. Dreamforce in 3 months. Dreamforce. So wherever it is, I'd love to get together and meet in person. So a couple areas that I wanted to focus on. So a big part of what my role is with as the head of revenue solutions is to give you an idea of what is it that our customers are asking about. We're about 2.5 years into this thing called Agentforce Revenue Management. That obviously comes on the heels of a decade plus of Steelbrick as well as Velocity and the expertise that came from those acquisitions into Salesforce. And what did we learn from it? What does it mean? What did those products do well? How did we carry over what they did well? How did we innovate on top of that to respond to market conditions that we're seeing in 2026 and beyond? And that's most of kind of what I focus on a daily basis. Listen to what customers are asking for, listen to what it is that they want, turn that into technology solutions that can then help them again grow profits, reduce costs, and grow successfully and profitably year over year over year. Now, some of the things that we've been hearing and seeing are, you historically think in the kind of the old days of sales, oh, revenue is just it's what we sell, right? But revenue at the end of the day, it's not just like a number on a dashboard. It's an entire process. I was actually with a customer a couple of weeks ago in Cambridge, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. And in the room was a few people from sales, some sales leadership, someone from deal desk, a contract specialist, the controller was in the room, someone from order operations, and someone who was responsible for building their product catalog. And I was like, wow, this is the moment that Agentforce Revenue Management was built to capture. Not just sales, not just quoting, not just sales leadership, but like everybody that's part of the process. Because the reality is you've got decisions and actions all through a connected series that touch sales, finance, IT, product, services. And that's why getting it right, it's not just a priority of your sales team, it's an entire business imperative, impacting growth, impacting customers, and of course, ultimately for many customers of ours, impacting their shareholders as well. But the truth is that things have changed. Paradigms have changed. It used to be simple. You build a product or a service, you give it a price, you maybe discount it, maybe not, you close the deal. And for some businesses, that still works. We have plenty of customers. Believe it or not, we've got a customer that should be going live pretty soon. They have 3 SKUs, not 3,000, not 300,000, not 3 million, three. And they're using Agentforce Revenue Management because they've got some other complexities as part of the process. And so if you think about it, models, expectations, your customers, how they are buying is really evolving, and it's evolving really quickly. So leaning into transparency, into flexibility, into a seamless experience, regardless of the channel, direct sales, indirect, PLG, self-service, B2B commerce. So if you're thinking, again, these shifting preferences are redefining what does good look like and how are you as a customer meeting the market demand. So we're not just talking about a one-time event, right? Again, ongoing living relationships. But a lot of the tools that you've seen in the past weren't necessarily built for that. So because the revenue is a process that touches every part of the organization, it should be a point of unification. It should be a point where everybody comes together, but that's not always the case. Oftentimes it can be a huge friction point. This is actually something, speaking of Dreamforce coming up, this is actually a kind of an illustration that we utilized last Dreamforce in 2025, right? And this is meant to illustrate and highlight your disconnected systems, spreadsheets, siloed tools that really slow everything down and cause friction. We call it the messy middle. So it's where your revenue lifecycle gets bogged down. Manual effort, risk, compliance issues, delays. Like these are the things that come about based on this messy middle. And by the way, I know that in the poll, there was a lot of interest in Agentforce and AI and that kind of thing. I agree. The problem is, folks, when you throw AI on top of the messy middle, and you can thank my marketing team, you get a faster disaster, right? So the idea is taking those disparate systems, taking the messy middle, and then frankly, accelerating the messy middle. It doesn't necessarily get you efficiency. It doesn't get you the productive end state that you want to get to because your data is still disconnected. The rules are still in spreadsheets. So again, it's just a faster disaster. Now, AI can be a great thing. And we'll see how it can be something that can be incredibly helpful within the scope of a process that is unified from end to end. But it cannot enforce rules that do not exist in a unified system. It just can't do it. And that lack of enforcement creates audit and compliance risk across the entire revenue flow. I was in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago at the Gartner CFO conference, which was a blast. CFOs know how to party. And it was to hear the same story, but through a different lens was fascinating. I spend a lot of time, obviously, where people are talking about quoting or they're talking about contracts or they're talking about discounts or they're talking about customer relationships. And that's all incredibly important, right? And it's something that we've always done really, really well. But to be in a room with finance professionals and again, hear things like accuracy, compliance, controls, audit risks, it's all the same story. It's just a different chapter of the story, right? And it's often a chapter that's kind of towards the end of the book that maybe we haven't focused on in the past. But again, it was absolutely fascinating. And as we all know, the end of the story, a lot of times that's where the best part of the story is. It's not up front, right? It's in the end. And in this scenario, right, that's where it's such an incredibly important part of the process. Now, one thing that I want to highlight, again, one of the things that I have the pleasure of doing in my role is kind of seeing what's going on in the ecosystem and hopefully bringing some information. So maybe this looks like your company. Maybe it looks nothing like your company. But this is sort of the averages that we're seeing. When you think about the way buying is happening, businesses are really trying to lean into hybrid revenue models, right? So that you could sell consumption, for example, alongside your subscriptions, or maybe pivot completely into consumption, leaving subscription, kind of traditional subscription economy in the dust. Also thinking about selling channels. What's been interesting about this? I would say that the channel sales, so commerce, channel selling, and self-service are areas that I am talking to just about every customer. It doesn't matter what you do. It could be manufacturing, it could be tech, it could be media, it could be med device, it could be financial services, whatever. Every organization that I'm talking to is at least thinking about the omni-channel strategy and what they want to do with it. Because some of the numbers that we've seen is half your B2B revenue comes from partner channels, right? Again, kind of in aggregate across our different customers. And of course, your B2B buyers, they want a good experience, the same as you would expect as a B2C. But in this instance, how do we do all of that and layer AI on top of it? This company that I was talking to you about in Cambridge, Massachusetts, you know what they said? They really want to go all in on the omni-channel sales motion on the partner channels, but they feel like they can't even get their own internal direct channels right. And so if they can't get their internal stuff right, how are they going to have the right controls over their indirect channels? Right. And so those are some of the conversations where there's a growth opportunity, but at the same time, how do we factor in the risk? How do we factor in making sure that we are providing the right product for the right price with the right approvals at the right time for our customer? I mentioned the CFO conference from 2 weeks ago in DC. These are conversations. So for us, right, fiscal year 27 at Salesforce, FY 27 is the year of the CFO. In my opinion, so we've never talked to kind of so much to the office of the CFO, to finance, to profitability, to cash flow, to revenue and margin leakage, predictable growth, time to market. These are the conversations that are have really, really, really kind of taken a hockey stick upwards. And you know why? Well, there's a handful of reasons, but in a world of AI and in a world of usage and in a world of consumption, you know what scares the heck out of people? Cost overruns and lack of ROI. What's a popular phrase these days? Token maxing, right? I saw something the other day. There was an article. It said, how about we focus on outcome maxing, not just token maxing? Again, in a consumption world where there's some power in the hands of the buyer, it can be a scary thing when you don't know what is this going to cost. Are we gonna go way over our cost budget for this? Where's the return on investment for these agents, for the agentic experiences that we're going to roll out for our customers? That's why we've had so many conversations with the office of the CFO, because obviously that's a huge part of where that lies. So the really leaning into the core strengths of emerging business models, operating at the pace of business, providing access to real-time data, all of that information is absolutely critical. So everything that we've kind of gone over so far has sort of helped to set the stage, helped to set the foundation of what it is that I even focus on in our customers, and ideaHelix even focuses on a daily basis, and that is Agentforce Revenue Management, right? And so that's kind of what this is intended to be. That's the whole focus of what we're here to highlight today, is not only lessons learned, lessons from the field, what the product does, what the solution does, what ideaHelix does. That's what the main focus is for today. Now, one of the things that I really, really want to zero in on, there's a lot of things going on in this slide, okay? The main focus should be kind of right here in the middle, right? This is ultimately what Agentforce Revenue Management is intended to do. Catalog, pricing, and product and pricing catalog, configure, price, quote, which you may be familiar with if you've got a Salesforce solution today. Contracts, not only your contract object, but also like contract lifecycle management, like redlining and agreements and NDAs and that kind of thing. Orders. Now you may be thinking, oh, I'm David. I'm familiar with orders when it comes to Revenue Cloud. When it comes to Salesforce, we use them. Maybe, but probably not what we're doing with orders in terms of decomposition and order orchestration through a fulfillment plan. The ability to say, hey, on an order form, I'm going to present this order form to my customer, and it's going to have 5 things on it, right? The 5 SKUs that they purchase. But those 5 SKUs decompose into 20 technical entitlements, things that need to be provisioned that customer should never see or know anything about. And yet we can take that orchestration layer and then fulfillment layer and put it within Salesforce. Asset lifecycle management, telling you exactly what a customer owns, when they purchased, how they've upgraded, hopefully upgraded over time, what the life cycle of that asset has done. I was talking with another customer a couple of weeks ago, and she mentioned to me, yeah, I had a pretty embarrassing moment the other day. They do not use Salesforce Revenue Cloud. And she said, I thanked a customer for being a customer for 7 years. They've been a customer for 1.5. And they told me that. And I was pretty embarrassed. And so for her, the interest was in, I need to know my customer. I need to know, when did they start with us? What do they own? What have they done over time, so that that can help tee up my conversation, and make sure that they are getting ultimate value from what it is that they do, that this customer of Salesforce is, what it is that they do. And then when you think about what Agentforce Revenue Management is all about, you go a kind of up a level through any sales channel or application. You've probably heard this concept of headless, right? And that Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, mentioned at TDX, or was announced at TDX about a month and a half ago. Agentforce Revenue Management, the idea behind it is it's been headless since day one. Because I've talked to a lot of CPQ customers, a lot, hundreds, probably thousands. And you know what the common theme is? We want it's a great platform for product and discounting and quoting and that kind of thing, but we want to take these experiences and we want to put them in Slack. We want to put them in Teams. We want to put them in Experience Cloud. We want to put them in their own custom Adobe storefront. We want to put them, we want to make sure that where our customers are, where our distributors are, where our channel sellers are, we're able to take the technology that helps them to put together deals, send it out to the customer, and deliver on time. We want to put those experiences where they are, not just make them come and log in with us. And so if you think about how all of these rules get pushed into any channel, or any application that you're using, it's a really, really powerful thing. So let's talk a little bit more about what we're doing with the product. So first and foremost, one area, I won't spend too long here, but I do just want to highlight a point of pride for our product team. We were recognized as a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. The reason why this is somewhat material is because this past Magic Quadrant from 2025, I guess it technically is the January 26th, but we participated in 2025. It was the first time we were able to participate. We did not participate in 2024 because technically your product has to be GA on January 1st, which we were not. We did not go GA until the release in February. So last year was the first time that we truly participated with this product, and to be named a leader in year one is fairly seismic in terms of the impact that the Gartner team sees that we're doing within the world of CPQ, but ultimately end-to-end quote to cash. And so again, it's just an area that we are especially proud of, right? And hopefully what it does, above and beyond pride, hopefully what it does is gives you a sense of certainty of the way we're building the product, and the way that we are rolling it out to make sure that it's solution first, that it's stable, that it's scalable, and then it helps you drive your outcomes as a customer. Now, one of the areas that I want to kind of lean into, I've talked a lot about, what we're seeing in the market and what the opportunities are, and where I think changes are, that we've seen over the last couple of years, and what I anticipate moving forward into the future. But like, why did we even build this in the future? We, again, a couple of years ago, we acquired SteelBrick. Shortly after that, we acquired Velocity. And so how did we take those tools, plus a few others? You may have seen some other things in the news as well, but how do we take those tools and how do we bring those together to develop Agentforce Revenue Management, and why did we do it in the first place? So I'm going to zero in on a couple of the areas that we've got here. In my opinion, even though it's not the first box, the first big shift is asset lifecycle versus contract-based sales. All right, that's one of the biggest shifts, and that's one of the areas. Your traditional CPQ tools, they're typically built around contracts. However, most of the modern businesses operate around assets, usage, recurring value. And Agentforce Revenue Management supports advanced pricing, it supports ramps, and it supports an asset-based lifecycle management. Essentially saying, it's kind of that story I told earlier a few minutes ago, which is understanding where did a customer start, what have they done in the meantime, and then where is a potentially a projected end that we need to focus on a renewal before there's an attrition event, right? This aligns directly with how customers expect delivery and how you expect to grow your value for your customers. Next focus, for at least for me, is on omni-channel selling. I've already talked about it. I've got a slide next actually about that. So whether your customer is buying directly, whether they're buying through partners, distributors, online, your portal, whatever, Agentforce Revenue Management connects the experience And the idea is with one consistent catalog and one consistent pricing model so that you can truly support and sell anywhere seamlessly across any interface, right? Um, and then the third one that we'll go into is the attribute-based catalog. There's if you're familiar at all with traditional CPQ tools, including the ones that we have here at Salesforce, when you start to grow to this really huge and robust size of products, parts, pricing, quote lines, that kind of thing, you can start to run into some performance issues because it was not necessarily built to be scalable for 5,000 line items or millions and millions and millions of products and parts and pricing rules and product rules and that kind of thing. And so when we've rethought our product catalog and thought about it more from an attribute-based perspective, launching your new products, your solutions, your bundles, your kits, it's faster, it's easier, it's more scalable with flexible attribution versus kind of a rigid product hierarchy, for example. And ultimately, it's going to accelerate your time to market as well. There's a few other things that are on here, but those are some of the areas that, when I talk to customers, that comes up probably the most. I mentioned omni-channel selling briefly. This kind of gives you an idea of what we mean by that and kind of where the big areas of opportunity are for our customers. And then of course, their areas of opportunities for their customers. So if you think about, Agentforce Revenue Management, you think about configuration, you think about bundling, you think about pricing, subscription management, order management, all of those things together serve as a shared and singular revenue engine for e-commerce, for in-app or product-led growth, which is a huge use case for our customers, especially in high tech, channel sales through partners, which you're seeing everywhere, and even field service. The number of field service questions that I've received over the last couple of months has been astonishing. And it shouldn't be a surprise, right? You've got someone, they're up on the top of a hospital, they're checking out a chiller, for that hospital. It's broken, they need a part. Well, there you go. There's an opportunity, to potentially quote something out, quote out a service agreement that, if that hospital doesn't have one. And so it makes all the sense in the world because selling is not restricted to the quote that's on your screen sitting at your desk in your office, right? Selling is happening and delivering is happening and customer success is happening everywhere, right? In all parts of the globe. Um, One of the other areas, and I feel like this is something our customers have been waiting for a very long time, but it's the joint vision and the delivery of B2B commerce and Agentforce Revenue Management. So if you were to go to a B2B commerce storefront and you're seeing some screens kind of cycle through, you can actually, you go through and you buy a bundle. In this case, it's an energy bundle, like a, wind turbine or something like that. You can go through and it's actually utilizing the Agentforce Revenue Management product catalog, pricing engine, configuration experience, subscription pricing, all of that information, basically the foundational elements of that are coming through your B2B commerce portal so that your end buyers have the power to be able to go through and configure and price exactly what it is that they're looking for. They can still work with, a sales rep through, like a cart to quote type of experience. But at the end of the day, they're able to go through and actually do a little bit of self-service through B2B commerce, all kind of productized through Revenue Cloud, Agentforce Revenue Management, and B2B commerce. So hopefully the story that I've been able to highlight today, and then we're going to get into some agentic stuff. Hopefully the story I've been able to highlight today is that we were headless before headless was cool. All right. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. So the operational grammar happening underneath the screen, the schema, the logic, the permissions, the audit trail, the reliability, all of that was built into Agentforce Revenue Management from day one, right? The rules and the workflows, they're encoded into the system. So you can make sure that your team is compliant, so that you can make sure ultimately that you can confidently delegate these rules to an agent, right? And speaking of agentic capabilities, I've got a couple of items here that I want to share. We are, we launched our first agent. It was a contracts agent this time last year. And we have since released a few more. I've got a slide on that next. But I think the one that probably garners the most amount of attention is the quoting agent, right? Starting right at the front line. So empowering your sales reps in this case to create accurate, compliant quotes in a matter of seconds. So they just use natural language to describe, I need a quote for a new generator. It's got a usage-based energy pack, and Agentforce instantly creates the quote, pulls in the right products, pulls in the right pricing, pulls in the right terms. You're not toggling between systems or product catalogs. You're not waiting for approvals. You're getting instant, intelligent action through Agentforce Revenue Management and Agentforce and the agents that it creates. And in fact, as we take a look at some of the other ones that exist, Agentforce Revenue Management, in my opinion, maybe I'm biased, but in my opinion, is the perfect kind of part of the Salesforce ecosystem for agents because it's deterministic, right? It's all rules based. It's all rules based. It's got compliance built into it. You're not looking for a lot of, hey, make something up on the fly. No, you are looking for something that's deterministic, where the agent has very clear set of instructions of when I receive this prompt or when I receive, this message or whatever, this is what I then do with it. And so Agentforce Revenue Management is actually the perfect kind of agentic companion to go along with your agents. And so these AI agents, they come to life in your whole revenue process. So think about every department, not just sales. Again, we're breaking out of just the sales department. Every department gets an intelligent teammate, someone to work alongside people to generate quotes, optimize pricing, flag risks, streamline approvals, even explain invoices to sales reps or customers. And it does it continuously, step by step, agents and humans collaborating in real time to move revenue faster, more predictably, and more profitably as well. Now, what's interesting about this is one of the things that I mentioned earlier was, hey, we're not just focused on the direct selling motion or the quote or whatever. One of the other areas that I think has been extraordinarily interesting. Listen, if you're not, well, look, if you're not using Slack, you got to start. Okay. If you are using Slack and you're not using Slack bot, you got to start. If you are using Slack and you are using Slack bot, but you're not using Slack bot to generate your quotes, you got to start. All right. Like this is, I use Slackbot all the time. I have it open constantly, all day long. I ask it a ton of questions. This is hands down one of the biggest benefits, and I think one of the most important areas of true productive capability that you could utilize a tool like Slackbot for, right? So think about it. It's deeply personal. It's got access to your permissioned data, your files, your conversations. It knows your work, what you're doing. It knows your style, adapts to your preferences. It's a teammate, right? And it's not just searching, it actually takes action to move your work forward, like finding promotions, accelerating approvals. The ability to take this natural language kind of conversational method and take it into quoting and take it into your order operations process is absolutely incredible. It's astonishing. It's astonishing what it can do. And we get a lot of questions. So I work with I have a global remit. So any company that uses Agentforce Revenue Management that's considering it, it doesn't matter the size, from enterprise all the way down to one person startup. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of our customers kind of think about agents and agentic being a little bit more of like a startup, an SMB type of thing, but like, oh, that wouldn't fit for our enterprise business model. I'm not saying everyone says that, but you do tend to get a little bit more pushback at the enterprise because it's like, well, you couldn't understand our complexities, you couldn't understand our workflow, you couldn't understand our decades of historical data that we've got. But I think that quote to cash, especially in the enterprise space, is perfect for agents. It is ideal. I mentioned earlier, it's rules dense. It's not judgment dense. You're trying to get away from the back of the napkin quote. You want to have a rules dense, deterministic process so that every action is governed by policies like discount thresholds, pricing tiers, volume-based pricing tiers, milestone billing, compliance controls, and you want to make sure that it's done the same way, reliably, every single time, right? And so that's why I think that agents and AI agents are perfect regardless of the size of your company and of your enterprise. One thing I wanted to bring up here is, what I love about this is, yeah, we have a bunch of out of the box agents, a ton. But you know what our customers really want? They want access to our APIs and they want access to the data so that they can build their own. They can build a deal desk agent. They can build build a contract specialist agent. They can build a revenue analytics agent. And in order to do that, we have built not only the APIs and the data, we've got the architecture built so that customers can build and deploy their own specialist agents with their own responses, with their own topics, with their own shared context to make sure that they have an agent that understands their business, understands their data, understands the way they sell, and can help, kind of, again, agents and humans working together all in the flow of work. So whether it's an out-of-the-box agent, like the quoting agent, or whether it's something that's been custom built utilizing data, utilizing APIs, and utilizing all of the built-in foundational elements, at the end of the day, it's still Agentforce Revenue Management, driving the productivity, driving the compliance, driving the controls, and making sure that everything is kept clean end to end, so you can serve your customers. So I think, yeah, I think that was, gosh, I was cruising through. I think that was my last one, and Sergey, you're up next. But hopefully, what we've highlighted today is um, this has been built to solve the messy middle and avoid the faster disaster. The idea being, how do you structure your end-to-end process so that you can layer agents on top of it, and so that you can reliably and predictably grow your revenue and grow your customer base while making sure that you've got incredible customer success all along the way. Hopefully, you've seen that today, and there's been a couple of data points or topics that you really hadn't considered before coming into the day. Speaking of customer success, though, I'm going to stop sharing, and I think Sergey, I think you might start sharing.
Thank you,
And
David. Yeah,
perfect.
it was incredible. And like I was listening to it and I was like, wow, it sounds amazing. It sounds, to the point of being incredible. Like, is it really all that true? But personally, I'm a massive fan of evidence-based medicine. I want proof. So I want to be, evidence-based ARM. So Sergey, show me the proof.
Yeah, I will do that right now. I just want to say that David got so excited speaking about the uh, am I sharing the screen? Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. Okay. Speaking about the agents, and I really want to say that we observed actually a lot of success with agents recently, because agents are doing a very good work. They do much better quotes, so they don't violate the rules and things like that. So in the end of the day, you get better results. You get less number of quotes that are incorrect. More quotes go through the approval process, and in the end of the day, companies sell better and faster and things like that. Uh, I'm sharing my screen right now, right? So you can see the residential elevator
All
slides.
set. All set. Yep.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So David said about yeah, why Agentforce Revenue Management is great, and residential elevators is an example where we managed actually to prove it in real life, right? So residential elevators, they sell elevators. You can like guess how many products they have. It was a big surprise for us that they had actually 2,000 products in the product catalog. And apparently, every single variation and every single way of selling the elevator was yet another product. With RevCloud, we managed just to configure those things with parameters on the product. So as a result, we managed to minimize the size of the catalog 10 times, right? And then as a result, everything started working much faster. Like the system responsiveness improved so much. So that was a great success from this point of view. So the good thing here is that we had a very good support from residential elevators. They were really working with us. We managed to understand their catalog and rationalize it to have 165 products instead of 2,000. So that was a great win for us. another example here is DDN. So that's where people may say, hey, oh, David said about that. So let's focus not on tokens, but on outcomes. But for DDN, tokens is the outcome. So here we needed to come up with the product catalog with the migration process where we have not only your regular products, but consumption-based products. So the product catalog here was very complex. And again, so with RevCloud, we managed to untangle their existing product catalog, their existing billions of different products, and come up with a very clean and efficient migration process into Revenue Cloud. And again, so as a result, we used quite a lot of our tools, but we managed to precisely migrate most of their products, with only 5% of products required some manual attention. And then if you look at the C-Spire, that's another very interesting example. So C-Spire is a telecommunication company in the United States. They told us from the very beginning that their product catalog is a mess, right? And I think they're not unique in this situation. And they were not sure if it is possible to actually migrate everything into RevCloud. And that was a very interesting challenge for us to actually face and understand what we can do about that. And the thing here is that, and I will brag a little bit about our tool set at ideaHelix, but we have things like best practices analysis tool, where we can actually install a tool that is approved, that is in the App Store on Salesforce, and we can check what kind of customization you have in your org, and how many products you have, and how much you're aligned with the Salesforce best practices. So this tool actually helped us to understand what can be easily migrated and what will require some manual attention. So with the tools that we had, we managed to migrate automatically 70% of what they had. And the overall program took 8 months. But again, so that was a very good success. And they are going live, I guess, within a few weeks from now. So these are just a few examples of the success stories, how first of all, it was not that hard to migrate from CPQ to the Revenue Cloud. And secondly, how much everything got improved in the end. The thing here is Revenue Cloud, and I strongly believe in that, is the future for Salesforce. And migrating to Revenue Cloud, yes, it improves performance. It makes maintenance of the product catalog easier. You can support most of everything that you need out of the box. You don't have to have customizations. But at the same time, that's the future that Salesforce is investing into. And as a result, you get such cool things as agents, for example. As a result, you get future support. As a result, you are staying with the greatest things that you have in the industry. So that's why I believe Revenue Cloud is exactly where everybody needs to be.
Right. Thank you so much, Sergey. Again, thank you. Now my skepticism is a bit less. We've got proof. Amazing. And before we get into Q&As, because when we were getting the registrations, we had this question, and we got a few ones, and I will be playing the devil's advocate, asking you those questions, and I might be putting you on the spot, but this is the way it is. And before we get into that, I want to launch one tiny poll, again, to get things a bit interactive, and let's see what is the biggest obstacle standing between you and the transition, because new things are great, but at the same time, new things can be scary. I'm starting to get the responses, and we have uncertainty about scope and timeline. Very good. Concerned about business disruptions, difficulty getting executive or budget approvals. Okay. Yes. So those things, they come into play. And actually, these things that I just mentioned in the poll, they were the questions that we were asked. So I'm going to put it very, very bluntly. So one of the questions we were asked, we have CPQ. Why? So we have invested so much. Why ARM? Why do I need it? How would you address this?
Yeah. Is that for me?
Oh yeah, we can do it, all of you.
It's a good question. Obviously, it's one that I get frequently, right? We have CPQ today. Why Agentforce Revenue Management? Um, and one thing I want to be very, very clear about, and this is something that my sales companions aren't always thrilled when I say, but it's the absolute truth. If you have CPQ and it's working for you today, and it's a good solution, and maybe you're looking for some managed services or whatever, you can continue to renew CPQ. I've got literally thousands of renewals coming up this year. And renewing CPQ is absolutely an option for many, many of our customers. And it should be seen that way. I want to dispel any type of like we have to move or being forced, anything like that. That's not the case. However, for many of those customers, a move to Agentforce Revenue Management is it's a positive one. It's one that they are highly considering. I would say there's a couple of different areas. One is I would say embracing the kind of end-to-end nature of what it does. Listen, SteelBrick and even Velocity to a certain degree were very good point solutions that were intended to solve a problem. The problem generally being we need to reliably get quotes out the door with the right products and pricing approved, preferably first, and then we need to get the products and services into the hands of our customers. And it did that, and it's done that for thousands of customers extremely well. But the world has evolved and changed where, there is additional complexity that comes in through the use of subscriptions, through the use of usage and consumption, through deploying through any channel. You've got people that are part of your organization. It's not like these people just all of a sudden popped up and are new, like your contract specialist, your controllers, your CFO, your product and pricing specialist, order operations. These people have always been here. They just use other systems in order to do their job. And what that creates is that creates the messy middle. It creates swivel chairing. It creates the need to log in here and log in there and then log in there, and you may not be getting that full picture. And so I think for existing CPQ customers, don't think about it like CPQ 2.0, right? If you've ever seen me present anywhere, that is one of my warrior cries. It's not intended to be CPQ 2.0. It's intended to do all the things the CPQ did and then bring in the other parts of the end-to-end process so that you can take a look at your process and say, that's a good opportunity to bring in that department, that group, that process, that channel, that system where we can now all start to see everything end to end. So I would say that from the perspective of embracing a new end-to-end motion and vision is one part of it. Another part, and I didn't want to lead with this, but another part is there are some companies they're struggling with CPQ. They're struggling because there are performance limitations. They're struggling because they want to go heavy into usage and consumption, and it's not really there. They're struggling because they want to embrace an agentic future. And while you can build agents on top of CPQ, it's largely going to be custom. It can work, but a lot of people don't want to put a lot of investment into something that's going to be custom where they know that they're eventually going to move anyways. And so for a lot of customers, this has just been the right call because when they bought SteelBrick or they bought Velocity, it was the right thing at the right time for them. And now 5, 7, 10 years later, in some cases, it's no longer the right thing, or it is hitting limitations, or it is struggling. And so let's take a look at what sort of the evolved vision for this was supposed to be, and potentially take advantage of it. So there you go. I can go on for an hour. We can do a whole session just on that topic, but that's kind of packaged up in a couple of minutes.
Absolutely.
Just to add a little bit to that, since I've been in the generative AI world since its very beginning, I was so happy to see agents. And to me, and agents is, I don't know, it's probably a swear word right now because there are so many companies that are trying to use agents and they just get an enormous bills from whatever, Claude or OpenAI or whatnot. What I observe with Agentforce is that you can actually tune the agents real good so that they are focused on important things and you can control your usage and actually have a lot of things done. We have a very interesting experience fine-tuning quote an agent. And then, so as a result, you have an agent that is focused on specific industry or even specific way of selling, specific jargon, specific jargon of that company or specific jargon of that industry, so that the salesperson, when working with that quoting agent, can actually focus on important things and then leave a lot of manual work, just generating a quote, validating the quote, coming up with marketing material to an agent. And then we had a very interesting example quite recently when we created a proactive agent, which is based on the quoting agent from Salesforce. But the proactive agent was checking the emails, was checking the call transcripts, and then creating a quote during the night. So in the morning when the salesperson opens the Slack, there's already a message from the agent saying, "Hey, I have created a couple quotes for you. For that specific customer, they send email asking for something to be installed at that specific location. This is the quote for you. This is the marketing language from the product catalog. This is the template of the email. Just send it and let's see what's going to happen." So something like that, right? So for me, that's a very good advantage of Agentforce.
Yeah. Probably it would take us back to the very, very beginning, how Agentforce Revenue Management can make our life better with agents, with seamless transitioning. But I'm going to put my devil's advocate hat back on, and I'm going to ask you two questions. First question is, how much will it cost me? And probably, Sergey, I want you to take this one.
Oh, I don't even have a slide for that, but that's a good question. So usually it's not a lot, but the answer is it depends. But since we live in the AI world, we have an answer to that answer, if you will. So usually what we do, we have a program. It's an 8 weeks program. We deploy our tools. We analyze, as I mentioned before, we have best practices analysis tool, we have a migration tool, we have a lot of different tools just to help with the migration from CPQ to Agentforce Revenue Management. And in many cases, within 2 weeks, we know pretty much exactly how much time it's going to take to finalize the whole process. Of course, it depends on the complexities, customizations, and everything. But usually within first 8 weeks, we manage to migrate at least one, probably the most important family of products from CPQ to the Agentforce Revenue Management.
Mm-hmm. So essentially what you're saying is like there is a program, like a health check, that would help the customer get the idea.
Yeah. And then, as I said, it's not just a health check. The first 2 weeks, it's usually free for the customer. We deploy our tools, we do the analysis, we come up with the pretty much precise estimate of how much it's going to take to migrate everything. And then if customers are okay, it's usually 6 more weeks just to migrate the most important products, the biggest priority products that they have in their product catalog. And then for everything else, we can discuss and come up with the agreeable solution.
Yeah. So you have already anticipated my second question, how much time it's going to take, because it's always the question, how much it's going to cost, and how much time it's going to take. Because when we say it depends, this is the question that people don't really like, or this is the answer that people don't really like to hear, because it depends gives a lot of uncertainty and it doesn't give you any clarity. But when you can convert this uncertainty into a number, that's an absolutely different story.
Yeah, you're a little bit twisting my arm right now, right? So I cannot just tell you exactly in euros or British pounds or US dollars how much it's going to be to do the overall project migration. But as I said, we're not speaking about millions. We are not even speaking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. It really depends, as I said, on your project. But within 2 weeks, after a free, absolutely free engagement, we can tell our customers the exact number and exact timelines, and then we can speak after.
Thank you. And probably just one last question that we were asked, and very quickly, is about AI and Agentforce. So we did mention, and we did speak about them a lot, but what would be the biggest difference between CPQ and ARM in terms of agentic everything?
I would say the biggest difference. Oh, sorry, Sergey. I'll let me start this one. I'd say the biggest difference is twofold. One, Agentforce Revenue Management was built to be composable, which means you can essentially start from any point along the path, and you don't necessarily have to use everything that it does. For example, that customer that I mentioned earlier that only has 3 products, they're not going to use quotes because they don't. There's nothing to quote, right? It's three. What do you want? Do you want good, better, or best? What they're going to do, but they have a very, very high transactional order volume. And so what they're going to do is they're going to utilize a self-service portal and agentic capabilities to help people quickly go through the purchasing process because they do have a lot of other complexities when it comes to orders and renewals and amendments and changes and that kind of thing. And so part of it, the first part is the composable nature of we have this entire platform. What parts of it do you want to utilize? And how do agents kind of sit on top of that? And then the second one, and probably the more direct answer to your question, it's the API first nature of which it was built, right? That's the whole idea. I have talked to a number of customers. We just did in the month of end of April and beginning of May, we did our customer advisory board in New York and then Paris the following week. About 24 customers, about 24 customers in the rooms, and the feedback was very, very clear, which was continue to strengthen the APIs to make more available because we love what the product does, we love what the agentic future looks like, but we want to be able to create our own from time to time based on our business process, based on our operational excellence, based on our data, the way we work. And so I think that pairing those two together has probably been the most critical area to focus on.
Right.
Yeah, and then I will just chime in a little bit for my 5 cents as well. So agents and AI and headless. So that's very important things. One of our and David is saying that everybody should start using Slack, and I do not disagree with that. But many customers use Microsoft 365, right? And recently we had another very interesting exercise where when we integrated Agentforce with Microsoft Copilot. And that was the very interesting requirement from one of our customers. They invested heavily into Microsoft 365. They had Microsoft Copilot, but they wanted Microsoft Copilot to work seamlessly with Salesforce, with Agentforce. And then that's what we did through the API. We managed to create an integration with Microsoft Copilot, and all of a sudden, Salesforce data and Salesforce actions were accessible through Copilot anywhere. So, say for example, you're sitting in an Excel file, you open the Copilot tab, and you ask to inject the data from Excel into Salesforce, and then through agents, it all works, and that was big surprise for us. We didn't know that technology was already there, but apparently it is. So that's one thing. And the second thing is future proofing. So Agentforce Revenue Management future proofs the business basically, because that's where we see a lot of new products, a lot of new functionality for example, Revenue Cloud billing. or usage routing usage rating. Things that were not there in Salesforce before are there now. And if you're exactly as David said, it's all composable. You can pick and choose what you want to use, but you're getting more and more pieces of what you can use nowadays.
Getting more and more pieces of what you can use. It looks like we can run a whole series of webinars on all of those bits and pieces that we can use on billing, on agents, on a lot of other things. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, the time is up. And on that note, the technology is there and we are ready for it. And the technology is helping us future-proof revenue, and in general things that are ahead of us. Thank you very much for joining. It was an absolute pleasure being with you together. And thank you all for all the participants. We will be sharing the recording. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to address them. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.